We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast. And do you hear my voice now? And this is interesting. Um, when our stories became um, uh, known to "Do you hear my voice now?" They reached out to me and they said, um, "Hey, Mr. Borsman, could you go ahead and would you be willing to go ahead and do some podcasts on this?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, is it going to go ahead and do any good? Is anybody going to listen to it? And, will it make a difference? And so there's a part of me, like if you listen to the first podcast, there's a part of me that I don't know. To me, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird. And so I've got a good friend of mine, Jill, and she's actually from the area of Warrenville, Illinois, which is about 30 miles west of Chicago. So she's, in that area. And for years, we've done things together and business and friendship and all kinds of stuff. And so, I don't know if I'm avoiding the topic, but there's a couple things today, I think, for abusers that are interesting, especially in the spiritual world, where they flip on you. Like, it's just weird. It's like they're the ones that abuse you. And then flip they flip on the strategy. It's like, what in the world? Like, like, you know, I'm sorry that you were there in my way when I hit you. I mean, it's like it's really your fault. And it's weird because Dale Williams, and again, he was like I thought he was a level 4 friend. I thought he was like this, like he and I, like we were best friends. And I'm telling you, people, pastors, holy cow, the poor souls. I was going to say poor saps, but don't want to say that. But the poor souls, it's like they remind me of Chihuahuas. Nothing against a Chihuahua. I don't want to disparage them, but they're so afraid. And my dad being a pastor, I mean, I get it. It's like it's just sucks. And so I don't know what it was, a few days, weeks, or something before they brought me before the church to have me kicked out. Um, like he comes up to me and he says, "Mark, you know, we'll withdraw our charges against you if you withdraw your charges against us." I'm like, what? Like that could be like, what charges are you bringing against me? And so, and so they come up with this whole list of stuff that's just goofy. It's like, really? Like I'm following the Bible, you're following the Constitution that my dad went ahead and put together. Like, which of those two is going to be important? Like the Bible or my dad? Well, it's our interpretation. Okay. And they flip on you. And then other Christians around, it's weird. It's just weird. It's just strange. I'm speechless because it's just like Christians like Malin, a friend of mine we went to high school together in a Christian school, Romeoville Baptist Academy, and she's a missionary with her husband over in Hong Kong. And it's like they're missionaries over there for decades, and she was trying to raise money to help women, often single moms from the Philippines, often they're seduced and drawn over into Hong Kong, get out of prostitution. And she says, "Yeah, it's been really hard to raise money for that." I'm like, "Really?" She says, "Oh, yeah, to be a Christian or to be a missionary, that was nothing to raise money. But to go ahead and raise it for getting women out of prostitution, yeah, it's hard." I'm like, "Why is that?" She says, "Oh, Christians don't like messy." And so I was thinking about it, and my heart is like pastors. It's interesting. Like, it's just fascinating to me. Like,
Can I interrupt you?
please, absolutely.
Everything that you've just said reminds me my late husband was a narcissist, and everything that you just said right on down the line reminded me of that situation being very narcissistic, trying to turn the table around and make you the villain. Um, that they become the victim, and uh, I have I've been thinking about this because a lot of the churches and a lot of the Christian attitudes are extremely narcissistic.
Crazy. It's just, and it's like when it happens to you initially, you're stunned, and then you're really ticked, and then you go through like the 7 phases of grief. But at some point, you just sit back and marvel and say, "Dang, they're good at what they do." Like, how do they shoot themselves in the foot, shoot you in the back, and then it's your issue because you did it? And so
Because it was your fault.
it's your fault. So there's a book out there, and pastors again. My dad was a pastor. I have a huge heart for pastors. I do. I really do. Like but I just like, come on, guys. And there's some girls, but I know gals. I know a lot more guy pastors. When we moved to a new city, and they're so fragile. Like when we moved to a new city, we started um, after being in Warrenville for, I don't know, 30 years, like we moved to a new city in Indiana, and we started visiting churches, and so I got invited to this pastors group from 3 different pastors. They're like, Mark, you ought to attend this. I'm like, okay, I'm not a pastor. And they're like, no, it's fine. And I'm like, okay. And so I did once a month for a year. And towards the end, I'm just like, I don't know. I just feel bad for them. I mean, they'd come and complain about their congregation and how bad they had it, how hard they had it. And it's just like, and 75% of them, one guy said he knew all of the pastors in the area, and 75% of them, he said, were either looking at getting out of being a pastor or leaving their churches. And it's like, wow, wow, what could possibly go wrong with leading a church when you don't want to be in a pastor ministry? And another pastor, again, like, why wouldn't these pastors want to join a podcast with me? I, I don't know. I don't know. And why are they like, please, don't name my name, Mark? Like, don't name my name. But there's this pastor, this big church. I mean, big church in the area. And he goes ahead and gets up in front of all of his congregation, say, yeah, I'm going to this pastor's conference. And he laughs in front of everybody. He's like, they're narcissistic. They go ahead and they want to go ahead and, whose church is the biggest and what's going on. It's like, whoa, okay, dudes. And he's laughing about this in front of everybody. And it's like, why doesn't he do something? Is he going to go there and rebuke them? No, he's going to go there and become part of them. Like, it's just sad. So here's something on personalities. And so Dale Williams is an amiable analytic, same thing my dad was. And so he's governed by fear and despair. I'm not showing him disrespect because I'm laughing. I just am sad. I'm just like, come on. And so he's prone to, I don't know, is he prone to panic attack, passive aggressive? I'll vouch for that. Stress, yep. PTSD, I don't know. Anxiety, yep. Social phobia, yep. Is he pride? Oh, for sure. Big time. Depression, yep. And so I just, I just hurt. And it's like, Mark, what's your motive? I don't know. I guess first motive is Don't go ahead and continue to abuse other people. Come on. Like, but you can't get any help because the therapists, most of them out there, and the ones that are ministering to pastors, like like the pastors who are ministering to pastors, like I'll send this podcast probably to like like I'll probably, I mean, I'm not disparaging these guys. I'm not like, Dwayne Early, I'm my father-in-law, Dwayne Early, who's the vice president of strategic partners. What does that mean? Is fundraising for ABWE, over 1,000 missionaries. And, they got 3 missionaries that are kind of goofballs. And, you'd think that pastors would embrace somebody, but it's like they're victims. And so when you look at this stuff, you just, like here, what kind of men protect child abusers? And these men are fearful. Are they fearful of simple questions? Like, and so Dale Williams, like, it's weird because you never think that anybody's going to read this stuff. At least I don't think it, because people don't like messy. But do you hear my voice now? They went ahead and forwarded an email to me from somebody in Maryland, some woman in Maryland. And she went ahead and emailed me about the sexual abuse from Dwayne Earler to my wife for 7 years, and then covering it up for 35 years. And then Dale Williams, he goes ahead and talks to, like, 20 years. This has happened 20 years ago. Like, and he's still bitter towards it. Like Dale Williams, the poor guy is still bitter. Like, what did I do to him? Well, you didn't do what I told you to do. But I followed the Bible, Matthew 18, dude.
You called him out.
Right. And it's like, boy, they don't like being called out. And now he's terrified. He's like terrified. But he's getting up to retirement. Anyways, this woman, they passed along, an email, and and she said, karma, Mark. I'm like, what? She says, have you heard, in the email, she said, have you heard that Caleb died in an automobile accident? I didn't. And he's got, I don't know, a couple kids. He's a pastor. He's a husband, a dad. My heart hurts. I mean, it does. Like, but everybody, it's so interesting. Everybody's focused. Mark, what's your motives? Like, what's your motive? I mean, whatever. You can judge, but observe. And so, Dwayne, he's getting up there in years. And Dale, so what was it, 2 years ago or something? I go back to the church. Like, we were selling some rental property that we had for years, and we're in the area. And I say to my wife, like, I'm a warrior. Like, people are going to screw you. People are going to stab you in the back. People are going to shoot you. I mean, and the ones who are going to do it are the friendliest. They just are. It's just how it works. It's okay. Like, you're on the front lines. You're on the front lines. But Dale, like, what's his motivation? He's been at one church his whole life, the one my dad and I started. And he's living off of that. And he wants to retire from it, probably. Like, he doesn't want to take any risk. Like, he doesn't want to have faith. He wants to be in a comfort zone, and it's okay. It's your personality, but realize kind of who you are. So I go ahead, and we're in town, and I said, I think I'm going to go to Emmanuel Baptist Church. This is 20 years, 17, whatever it is. Dale's analytics. So he's like, it wasn't 17. It was 17, 2 months and 2 days. Really? Does that matter? Yeah, you weren't accurate on that. You're not accurate on everything else. I'm like, come on, guys. Anyways, so I asked my wife, I say, hey, honey, do you want to go to Emmanuel? She's like, no. And I hurt for her because she's not a warrior. And it's okay. It's okay. And I hurt for my kids. The amount of damage that Dale and Dwayne, my brother Ken, like it's just weird. It's just weird. So, anyways, she's like, "Why are you going back?" I said, "Well, there's a number of motivations." I said, "I think the number one motivation is to show you and the kids like it's okay. Like you can forgive. like like it's like when you like if you're gonna laugh about something in 10 years and it's been 20, I'm laughing. I was laughing soon after. My wife, she's not laughing. Like people say, what would you like? What do you want to have happen? You know, somebody say, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry to my wife and my kids. Like we railroaded your dad. We undermined him. We went ahead and hurt his authority in your life. We hurt you and your family. Like we don't have 100% responsibility, you know, for Jonathan's death. We don't. We have some degree of responsibility. We don't have 100% responsibility, you know, for all of the issues that are in your family. We don't have 100%. Nobody's blaming you 100%. I don't know. But can you take 1% responsibility? Can you say we had, you know, we had something, we had some degree of responsibility? Can you acknowledge that you're wrong? Like we went to Harvest Bible Chapel and the pastors there, they kicked out a couple of deacons and, you know, they broadcast among 13,000. That's the trick of the pastor. Like use the exposure of everybody. Oh, was she hurt when that happened? She didn't even know the people. And then a year later, the pastors came back and apologized publicly. Whoa, that's pretty cool. That doesn't happen.
I was going to say, I've never seen that happen. Every
Right.
time, because every time that I've seen the church kick somebody out or ostracize somebody, it's like they have the ultimate authority, and whether they have proof or not, it doesn't matter. It's their word, and this is the way it's going to be. And either you apologize to them and you conform to them, or you're just done. And even if you do apologize, you're done anyway.
Right. Because you dared challenge them. You don't challenge, you know. So I said, so one motivation, honey, is just forgiveness. You know what? And just to show you and the kids. And I asked the kids, any of you want to go? And they were adults. They're like, no. My heart hurt for my wife, but I'm like, you know what? I'm still going to go. And I said, another motivation is Jonathan. And, you know, he grew up in the church, I think until he was 17, 15, 16, probably 15. Like he grew up in the church and that was his whole church his whole life. And then he sees his dad get kicked out. And when Dale called me and, you know, and said, I'm sorry for the loss of your son, Dale was his pastor for 15 years, pretty formative. And he says, I'm sorry for your son. 3 times he said your son. He didn't say, he couldn't call Jonathan by his name, which is fine. It's not, it's just, I just hurt. I just hurt for them. So another reason is my dad grew up, I was a teenager, you know, when I started and helped financially to put that church where they bought the property. And I grew up and I did septic. I mean, there's all kinds of memories. So healing, number one for my family. Number two is memories of my dad and my son. And then memories growing up. I mean, that's the motivation. So I go into the church and Chief Doug Reiner, he was the chief police of Winfield, which is right by Warrenville, Illinois. And he greets me and shakes my hand and he says, so great to have you here, Mark. And over the years, he's like, you know, Mark, You're welcome here anytime. Like, we'd love to have you here. And our oldest daughter's wedding was there. It's just, so it's like, this is 20 years after, 17, whatever it was, after the getting kicked out. And it's like, so he greets me, and I had a rule. I'm like, I'm not here to disrupt. I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm not even going to talk to anybody that I don't know. And even the people I do know, if they don't come up and talk to me, I'm not going to talk to them. Dale was there. He didn't talk to me. I didn't talk to him. I think his wife was there. And she didn't talk to me. I didn't talk to. So, I'm just coming to church, like, for crying out loud. Come on. Anyways, Greg Sutton, he comes up to me. He was one of the partners in Synergy Solutions when I started the company, and I knew him. Like, we were friends and went on vacation together and everything. He comes up to me and gives me a hug. Like, Mark, it's so good to see you. Like, hey, it's good to see you too. Like, so, and then I go to Sunday school class and I'm sitting there and Greg's like, hey, we have Mark Boersma here, and he was instrumental in the church, which is not what I was looking for. Like, I'm not looking for I'm just going there to reflect and to heal and to show healing. And like, and after Sunday school, I'm like, oh, this is a little harder than I thought it was, just because it's not boring. It just seems like there were, I don't know, 25 people in the church. And most of them, nothing wrong with older people, but most of them were older. And but it was weird because there were like 3 or 4 security guards, security people with their little headset. I'm like, there's 10% of the congregations in security. What would somebody want to do? Anyways, I'm like, okay. So I'll sit there and I'm like, Mark, you don't have to go ahead, and you've done what you've done, leave. And I'm like, no, I said I was going to come to the whole. So I'm sitting there between Sunday school and church. And all of a sudden, Doug Reiner comes up to me and he's like, hey, Mark, can I talk to you up in the room in front of the church? Like, it's one of the library rooms in front of the church. He says, hey, come here. I'm like, I'm not feeling safe. I'm like, what's going to happen? Like, can you come talk to me? I'm like, sure. So I go into that back room. He's like, you need to leave the church. I'm like, excuse me? He's like, you need to leave. Like, this is the guy that shook my hand at the beginning. This is the guy that went ahead. This is the guy that went ahead and, that had for 20 years, he'd be 17 years. He'd be like, Mark, you're always welcome. And it's like, I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you need. I'm like, why? And he's like, think you learned the lesson from the first. No, he wasn't mean. He was just weird. Like, he's like, you just need to leave. And I'm like, I don't understand why. What did I? It doesn't matter what the deacons have decided. The deacons? Who are the deacons? They're 3 dudes that I don't even know. They decided you need to leave. Why? He's like, it doesn't matter, Mark. You have to go. I'm like, but it's a church. My dad, doesn't matter. You have to go. I'm like, I don't think I do. He says, if you don't, we're going to call the police. I'm like, okay. Like, Mark, we don't want to create a disruption. Like, okay. Well, then just let me sit in the church. I'm going to sit there, go through the sermon. I'm going to walk out afterwards. Like, there's not anything. Like, come on. And then he gets on his little walkie-talkie, like a Secret Service guy. Call the police. Mark's refusing to leave. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, it's like from a bad movie. It's like, and I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, you got, and then I'm like, Doug, and tears are running down my face. And I'm like, Doug, like, you've told my family, me, like, I'm doing this for this and this. You've invited me. Like, why are you guys doing this? And he just becomes like, Mr. Like, I'm like, sheepers. And, I wait there then there's a couple other security people from the church. They come up. I'm like, my gracious. Like, glad I'm not a black man. Man, I'd be shot or something. Like he's resisting arrest or something. I don't know. Like, I apologize. I'm laughing because it's just weird. It's just weird. You gotta admit, it's kind of funny. And so, not if I was a black man though. Like cheapers. Like, anyways. So all of a sudden, about 5, 10 minutes later, there's two police officers. I see them through the window in the door, and they walk right. And by now, the church has started. There's the music and everything else. And there's these two police officers that walk right through the congregation, right through the 30 people, and walk in through. And they walk into the back. I'm standing there, and they're like, "What's the problem here?" And Doug's like, "This man's refusing to leave." They look at me. I'm like, my dad started the church. Doug's here. He's invited me. Like, I've been here with my whole like it's a church. They're like, "Sir, if they're asking you to leave, you have to leave." I'm like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like that's the law? They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wow, I didn't know that." Okay, thanks. And I walk out. Like, I walk out. And I'm like, that was just weird. Like, and then do I tell my wife and kids? Because this is going to have the opposite effect. But it's your fault, Mark, because you went to church one. Like, what in the world? And I know that there's going to be pastors out there that are going to watch this.
This is why this is exactly why there's so many people in the world have been switching from Christianity to other religions because Christians are such hypocrites.
Well,
They
and
preach
it's
one
like,
thing, they say one thing, but what they actually do, there is no forgiveness. There is no uh
well, and the thing is the abusers, they don't even see it's like they're blinded. It's like the law of stupidity by Bonhoeffer. It's like, and so then it gets even better. Like, how can you get even better than that? So so then, I don't know, a week later, Roseanne and I are heading out to Ginger Ann's to help her move. Our oldest daughter was married in the church. And we stopped by the post office because they have a certified letter for us and pick it up. And the certified letter is saying, it's just like it's just like, you can't make stuff up. You cannot make it up. It says September 5th, 2021. Mr. Mark Boersma, Emmanuel Baptist Church in Warrenville, Illinois, is confirming in writing that you are not to be on the church property located 3 South 465 Briggs Avenue, Naperville, Illinois 60563, and 3 South 435 Briggs Avenue, Naperville. That's the parsonage, I'm guessing, Illinois 60563. If you trespass onto church property, you will be subject to arrest and prosecution. I'm like, dang, really? Like, Jill knows me. I'm like, I really did. I wanted to go over there and take my toe and touch one of the pieces of grass. like, like, you know, and then Deacon Board, Emmanuel Baptist Church, Neil Carlston. He's the chairman. I used to have that position, chairman of the Deacon Board. And then Ray Nito and John Hagerson. I don't know any of these guys. I mean, obviously, Dale Williams, he's not going to be on there because he, he's the mafia hitman. No, have a little humor. Like, he's the head guy. He's not going to get his hands dirty. He's going to get these three guys, just like he did Doug Reiner, just like he did my brother. He keeps his hands clean. It's like, do they teach you this at Faith Baptist Bible College? Like, in seminary, do they teach you how to do this? And it's like, and so I don't even know who these guys are. But John, like, you're a CEO. Like, like you, one of these dudes is a CPA. And this guy, Ray, you're a social security officer. You know, it's like, oh my, guys, and John, you know, you're at First Trust, like, guys, like, like, what, like, if you're, like, if the presidents of your companies found out that you guys, you know, were kicking people, like calling the police on people, you don't even know the story. You just, you just go ahead and kick people out. You call the police on somebody, you don't even know the story. Like, what kind of businessmen are you guys? You guys seem to be dangerous, honestly. I mean, I've never met you. I'm not judging you. Yeah, he's a CPA. My brother, Vern, he's a CPA. Like, you take some degree of law, like, I don't know. You're probably not going to lose your license because of this, your CPA license, but come on, dude. Like, do you, do you know that I've got a family? Do you know that my dad started the church? Do you know that my son committed suicide 5 years ago, 3 years ago, before this? Do you know that I've been invited back? Did you go ahead and read the document, the 30-page document where I laid out the charges against Dale? Like, one of them, guess what? Guess what, Ray? Like, guess what? Um, One of them was spiritual abuse, misusing authority, spiritual authority. Huh. 17 years later, still up to his old tricks. Not angry with the guy. I'm not. I just think it's weird. And so, Ray, or if you know Ray, like, say, hey, Ray, dude, like, really? Like, you're a deacon at Emmanuel Baptist Church. Like, what kind of a testimony is this? Are you kidding? Like, are you guys kidding? But the church isn't there for the church, is it, guys? It's not. It's there for Dale to go ahead and have a retirement and feel that he's served his life. And it's like, really, dude? And for you three guys. So you guys can feel powerful. Like, ooh, we're big men. We're deacons at a church. A church of what? 30 people? Like, what's happened in the last 17 years? Like, guys, like, do you have no fear of God? So if any of you know Neil, Ray, or John, if any of you know any of them, say, come on. You guys owe me, my wife, and my kids an apology, a written apology. And this is crazy, dudes. Like, we're not going to do that. I don't care. Like, when I was a teenage boy, I went ahead and earned money to invest into the property. Like, you guys didn't do that. You don't know the history. You poor saps. My dad's property, my dad lived there. I grew up there. And you guys are not allowing me? Like, it's not a big deal, though, to me. It's just, I feel bad for you guys. I feel bad for you and your wife and your kids and your grandkids, because this is going viral, guys. The press gets a hold of this. This is why you got to have churches, pastors. You guys have police officers there. Why?
They're going to have to face judgment,
They
and
will.
they
They
will
will.
have to, and karma, their karma is going to not be good.
And so, I mean, just so you guys know, Jill's not saying anything like the other pastor who went ahead and protected my my wife's husband, or my wife's father, from that. I mean, like, do you think you get to heaven, God's gonna be like, no big deal? Like,
Oh no.
do you not read the Bible? Do you not read that when you're a spiritual leader and pastors that know Dale, like get into this, don't avoid this. Like, who's worse? Who's worse? The pastor, the man who abuses the girl, or the other men who protect the abuser? I mean, who's worse? I don't know.
To me, they're equal.
Right? And so it's weird, Jill. After Jonathan died, after Jonathan died, and Dale called me, and I thought, that was kind of weird. So I don't know, if a few weeks or months after I got kicked out of the church, I went into a restaurant, which I don't do often, and Dale was there with the pastor of a new church we were going to. I'm like, that's weird because Dale doesn't really associate because he's part of the GRBC, and they're they're really special people there at the GRBC. Like, come on. And if you're part of the board of the GRBC, not returning phone calls and saying, well, we can't really do anything unless if the pastor's abusing sexually, if you're part of a GRBC church, I just want you to know this. If you're part of a GRBC church, the rules are, and that's in writing, that if a pastor is sexually abusing somebody in the church, a girl in the church, or protecting somebody who sexually abused them, the GRBC cannot intervene unless the pastor invites them to come in. It's like
What is GRVC?
General Association of Regular Baptist Churches. It's
Okay.
the mission agency or the denomination that my dad was a part of his whole life. I grew up in the GRBC. Rosanna grew up in the GRBC. I mean, it's just you have empathy for all the kids, all the girls, all the boys that were sexually abused in the Catholic. It's not just happening in the Catholic Church. Yeah, it's just crazy. And so I call Dale and I say, "Hey Dale, I was just curious. Like I remember seeing you 17 years ago. I remember seeing you with the pastor of the, First or Grace Baptist Church of DuPage or Grace Church of DuPage." And he's like, yeah, I said, so he remembered it. And I said, so I was just curious, like, this is 17 years after. I said, you weren't like talking about me, were you? I mean, you're not supposed to gossip and you're not supposed to go ahead. I mean, I'm not there to defend myself or to present my side. Dale's there to go ahead and present his side. And that was the last church that Jonathan went to. And he talked to the pastor and he said, he did. He acknowledged, he said, I did. About me? Yeah. I said, why would you do that? He says it's called pastoral consideration. Ooh, some would call it gossip. but but pastors, like, if you know Dale, are you going to care enough about him as a friend to call him out on this? You can't do that kind of stuff. No, you probably won't, because pastors protect other pastors. It's what they do. So, so Dwayne Early, are you going to go ahead and, I mean, call him out? Terry Thompson, like, you're Small Church USA, you help churches, like, right? And you went to Faith Baptist Bible College, same college that Dale went to, same college that I met my wife at. Like, are you going to go ahead and get involved? Probably not. And it's okay. You don't have to. This is not a one-time situation. This is not. And so then, like, we confront Rosanna's parents 35 years after marriage, find out she wasn't sexually abused for 1-2 years. She was sexually abused for at least 7 years. So we try to go ahead and resolve that situation in counseling and stuff. And like, you got to be kidding. And somehow, we don't know how. Well, we do. Dwayne Erler, Rosanna's dad, and her mom go to Caleb. And what does he do? He tells him not to meet with us, with the counselor. And he gets involved and tries to go and do weird. I mean, just weird. I can't believe he emailed it because it's all history. There's a history of everything. So abusive, so manipulative, so crazy. And what does he do? In one of his emails, he says, Mark got kicked out of a church. Like, how does he know that? So I asked Dale, I said, did you talk to Caleb too? And he's like, yeah. How's that pastoral consideration? So Dale, the poor guy, the poor guy is getting eaten alive inside because there's so much guilt. And all the people around him, like all the people, like at the city council of Warrenville, like you become aware of this here, this situation. Are you going to do anything? Probably not. And it's okay. But don't go ahead and wonder why things are collapsing around you. You're hurting other people. You are. And the press, like we brought this to the press, not the local press, but some press, like in Morris, Illinois, where her dad lives. And so the local press won't go ahead and do this either. Why? Because pastors, police, politicians, business owners, they're by and large white men over 50. And they're powerful. And so they have money and they do advertisements and stuff. But you poor white males over 50, you poor Christian white males over 50, you just aren't getting it. You're not up to the time. See, there's something out there called the internet. And there's, do you hear my voice now? It's not an organization. There's no membership structure. There's no leadership. There's no, it's like a starfish and the spider. When you kill what's the difference between a starfish and a spider? When you kill a spider, or when you cut a spider in half, you get a dead spider. When you go ahead and cut a starfish in half, you get two starfish. See, this is what it's like for the Christian white male pastors. You go ahead and don't deal with this situation, it's on you. You're aware of it. Put your head in the sand, make excuses, do whatever you do. This is the greatest fear of Dale Williams. It's the greatest fear of Dwayne Erler or Rosalie Erler. Like the mom who doesn't do anything. The mom who's, when she's confronted with it, when her daughter's 19 and her mom's confronted with it, she says, all dads do that. So, women.
So did her dad do that?
Oh, yeah. Without question. We have no question in the world that her dad did it. I mean, I was 19 at the time and you don't need a doctorate. And I'm like, dang, like, holy cow. And she sees it right underneath her nose and she can't do anything about it. I mean, Dwayne, we went ahead and after we found out it happened for 7 years, we went to the Morris police and interviewed. And they brought him in and he acknowledged part of the abuse and they can't do anything. They won't do anything. And then they go ahead, and that's another story for another time. So it's like everything big, everything institutional, it's all comes together. Like at Emmanuel, they went ahead and colluded with the police. The police went ahead and protect the church. The church protects the police. It's like, guys, this is not going to go well. But they all have the law, the legal system. It's all on your side. Yeah, but again, who's running all of those organizations? It's the white males over 50. They protect one another. So that's going to, I think, come to an end. You have so much bitterness, you have so much you have so many people hating you, and the reason you do is because of this kind of stuff. Like, we don't, another podcast for another time, but Central DuPage Hospital, where all 7 of our children were born, the experience we had there, like that whole area, Warrenville, Winfield, Naperville, Wheaton, like all of that area, it's just holy cow. I mean, it's just collapsing. It's not really that hard to see, because this kind of stuff happens and they just brush it off. They just push it away. Talking about the Warrenville City Council and the mayor and all the other stuff, you're like, you got to be joking. The abuse that's around, and so it just continues to spread. And so,
The one thing, Mark, is they will all have to answer to God. No matter what happens on this earth, they will all have to. When you're in a leadership position, you're held to a higher standard with God, at least in my opinion.
well, the Bible says that. It's pretty clear. It's just fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me, and we'll wrap up here, but it's fascinating to me on how these pastors somehow weave a story that it's not that bad, or if it is, it's not their fault. It's somebody else's, and it literally corrupts the mind, and they don't see it, and they try to hide it. I mean, it's funny because Dale, like, it's just interesting on how they go ahead and try to manipulate you. And it's like, so the 30-page document, I didn't go ahead and release that to the church because I didn't want to split the church. So, Jill, you remind me of a good friend of mine, Evelyn Chat. She was at the church. She was a sassy lady. She comes up afterwards and she calls me the next day and she's like, I am so mad, Mark, that they did this to you. Like, I'm leaving the church. I said, Evelyn, you don't need to leave the church because of me. It's fine. It's all in God's hand. And but Dale goes ahead and, he says years later, he's like, yeah, I got all of the evidence in this little box, like in my office, locked. Like, do you have the 30-page document? Do you have all of the stuff? Because I'm thinking that you're terrified, and you have every reason to be terrified because you put man's laws above God's laws. And you know what? The other pastors are not going to call you out. Why? Because they do the same thing. None of them care for you, Dale. You know that. You guys are like crabs in a bucket. You're like hyenas. That's what you are. In Lion King, you're like the hyena. So I don't know if you've been spiritually abused. Connect with. Do you hear my voice now? Connect with them. When they heard my story, I mean, if nobody ever hears, nobody sees this, nothing happens from it. There's no, it's still therapeutic. I mean, it's still therapeutic to go ahead and do it. And who knows? I wouldn't be surprised the way Jill is, that she, she's fearless. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she goes ahead and visits that church someday and hands out, I don't know, postcards on this with little QR codes to go to this interview and pick up this stuff and understand this stuff. And you know what?
You know what? I'm laughing to myself right now because as you've been talking, I've been thinking about going there.
Right. And Jill, don't want anybody to feel threatened. Okay, you white males, don't want you to feel threatened. Don't want you to go ahead and feel like, oh my goodness, somebody's going to hurt us. Like, it's not that. But she does know a number of Latino women and Black women. And let me tell you, the Black women and Latino women, they have been mistreated and abused by men.
Oh, yes.
and they can go ahead and feel my pain. And like, it happens to a white dude? Yepper. And it sucks. Like, it really does. So I could see, like, what would happen. It's just hilarious. Like, what would happen if 10 Latino women and 10 black women, 20 of them all went ahead and came to the church? Like, what are you going to have more? You going to call the police on all of them? Like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? And then you get the press out there. You get the press out there because this isn't about me. Yeah, my wife and kids have gone through hell and back because of the choices that he has. They have. But you know what? It's all good. It's all good. So it's not about me. It's about somebody. So I have connections and I have capabilities and I have the ability to go ahead and communicate and say, hey. And so, ladies, I heard for you. I heard for you. Wives that are being abused by their husbands, others that are being spiritually abused, other people that are being sexually abused. And so, ladies, definitely reach out and they'll protect you. They'll be careful. Me, what are they going to do to me? Like, send me another letter. Like, so, so I think if this doesn't, if somebody doesn't stand up and put a stop to this, it just continues to grow. It's just like a virus. So hopefully this has been helpful, maybe a little entertaining. Probably not for the Christian white male over 50 who's a pastor. Probably you're not laughing. Well, think about it and do something about it. Say, hey, Dale, I saw that podcast on you. Like, I was just curious. Can I see your little secret box? Because I saw the article, like it's all there. Like, why don't you go on? Why don't you go on and do a podcast with Mark? He's more than happy to do it. And you're welcome at his Riverside retreats. Like, you're fine. He's fine with, and you're safe. You're not in physical harm. Now, emotional spirit, like, Dale, I've been doing the history of synergy and action vision. And I remember back when you and Shirley had our house and we had goals. We didn't have any kids. Your wife was pregnant. Rosanna was pregnant. Our kids grew up together. It's just, how do these things happen? So hopefully this is helpful. If you've been through similar things that I've been through, you get a big life vision. When your life vision bigger than death, you get over stuff like this. You're like, you know what? I don't need any justice. I don't need, if the truth comes out, fine. And if it doesn't, people get to face their creator someday. And I have a feeling that might be a lot rougher than whatever this is right now. But what do I know? I'm not a pastor. So, share this with other people, and if you're a white male, Christian white male over 50, don't put your head in the sand. For crying out loud. I'm not going to say grow a pair. I'm just going to say, hey, like, come on. Like, talk to people and say, get to the bottom of it. Like, yeah, it's messy, but that's what life is. That's what you're supposed to do as a pastor. You're supposed to deal with messy stuff. And I know you've probably done as bad or worse, and so you feel guilty. Well, then confess it, fix it, figure it out. I mean, who knows? The people that you've abused, gonna get on Do You Hear My Voice Now and do something on you. They should. They should. And for you younger pastors, this should be in every seminary in the world. Like, you should do the right thing because it's the right thing. But if that's not enough motivation, do it out of fear because it's going to come out. And when it does, Dale and Dwayne and Rosalie, what do they care about? Their biggest fear, bar none, is not God. Their biggest fear is exposure of the truth. They don't want their friends and family they don't want other people to expose, and everybody puts their head in the sand. And it continues to go on. Jill, thanks so much for being on. You are a true friend. We'll do another one of these and tell your story about some of your stuff. You got some good stuff to share. That'll help other women in healing and recovery and through stuff. And so it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, Jill. Have a blessed day.
You too.